Hey, good evening there, Bears fans, and welcome to the CHGO Bears After Dark here on Monday night, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. How's it going, everyone? Will DeWitt, Greg Braggs Jr. here for our Monday night edition of CHGO Bears After Dark. Adam Hoge's going to join us in about 30 minutes to give us some daily updates from Halas Hall. Cody Delmendo will join us in about 15 minutes to get in those Monday night football bets. But as you know, we got to start off the show with our weekly vibe check. Greg, I know yesterday was, I think, a gut punch in a couple of different ways, and I personally feel like I'm still just like recovering today, and just the news about Justin's injury and trying to figure that out and what it means for this team, what it means for him, and even just for like watching his presser after I had my spot in the post game yesterday, like just kind of deflated me even a little bit more. But like, how are you now more than 24 hours removed from that game? I think I'm still in recovery mode.
Yeah, I was in recovery mode, all right. I could barely make it through the post-game show yesterday. So it's a different kind of vibe check. Yeah, we've talked so much about, trying to find the silver linings or even the taboo word moral victory, but it's impossible to feel good about anything positive, any kind of positivity when you see Justin Fields looking the way he did at the end of that game. I mean, even if you took the shoulder injury aside, which it sounds like it's a separated shoulder, a dislocation, that's what we're seeing on some of the latest reports here in the last half hour from Adam Schefter and others.
Mm-hmm.
Even before the shoulder injury, he could barely get pulled off the mat. The first half he had 75 rushing yards, and then the second half he only had 10. And yes, we all understand that, it's not sustainable for him to run for 150 yards a game. You can't even have that expectation for him to break a 70-yard run every game. But just the fact that he wasn't capable of any kind of running was just very concerning to watch. And I said it to Hoge and Mark Harmon as the game was going. Like I said, this was pre-shoulder injury. I was like, I don't even want him playing next week against the Jets. I mean, he said all week long he had tired legs. Mm-hmm. Then he starts in the second half, you start to see signs of that. He's getting stretched out. At the time, we didn't really know what that was about. Now we find out they were cramps. But, and then he can barely get up off the field on his own. So it was just so hard to watch, and seeing just how much he's carrying this team is such a heavy weight on his shoulders. It was tough. So yeah, the Bears continue to move up that draft board, which is the only silver lining I think you can take from all of this, but it's not. It doesn't feel as good when your quarterback, who is proving so much to you every week for the last 7 weeks, can barely pull himself off the field.
You're right. You're absolutely correct there. And like, just to kind of talk about this injury a little bit more, because we do have more news than even the podcast earlier today. So a shoulder dislocation is different than a separated shoulder. Separated shoulder is like when it separates from like your collarbone area, if I remember correctly. A dislocation is like when the ball comes out of the socket. And that's what I had 6 times in my life on my left shoulder. And I've had it to the point where, like, when it comes out, I couldn't even like hold my body upright straight because of like all the weird tension it puts on those different muscles and then the arm, and those muscles start to like spaz out. And for him to be able to like finish that game, and again, I don't know if it popped back in place, if he was able to get it in himself. I was never able to do that. I always needed a doctor, a trainer, someone to pop that back in for me. It's a testament to his strength, though, because that is a very painful injury, one that I can relate to on a personal level. And I see I am Skokes talking about dislocating his kneecap twice in 4 years, and like, dislocations suck. I've actually dislocated my kneecap too, and that's another very gross injury. But for Justin, I saw too that he had this happen a couple of years ago. He took like a 2-week break because you do need time for that labrum area to heal, because it's really like loose and like, I'll call it like slippery, like where that shoulder can pop out a little bit easier than normal, because those muscles, once it pops out, they kind of loosen around and things just kind of get stretched out that shouldn't be stretched out. So a couple of weeks, you can put a harness on it to hold it in place. We saw Mitch Trubisky actually wear a harness on his non-throwing shoulder for the remainder of a year after taking a couple of weeks off. So it's nothing that could hold him out for the rest of the year if they don't want him to be gone. If they want him to play, I'm sure he can. But if it happened once a couple of years ago, it's going to happen again in the future. If there's probably at least some sort of tear to that labrum. So I think surgery in the off season will be necessary. And it's one of those, at least I've had it, where the rehab isn't terrible. It's his non-throwing shoulder. It just sucks because obviously you want him to have a full off season of just continuing to build in this offense, not one where he has to be like working with the trainers and rehabbing that shoulder. But that's just my personal experience and history with shoulders. And you can get it fixed up, like I said. And luckily, it's not his throwing arm. And I think that is a huge blessing for all of us, because I think that would be an entirely different story in terms of like how that would approach. It's really just the rest of his career. But I think I'm happy hearing it was just a dislocation, not a separation. I think that's a little bit more severe. And I do feel like just getting one surgery to kind of like get that labrum shored up and hold that humerus in place, and he'll be fine moving forward. So I'm not worried about the long term, but the short term, it definitely does suck.
Right. And there's nothing humorous about this.
No.
As I bust my dad joke out. How did you like that? No, it and it just goes to show you how much he's got to put his body through just to give this team a chance to win. When really they're not fighting for anything. I mean, I know some fans would get mad at that concept a few weeks ago, but now it's official. I mean, they're out of the playoff picture. It's that's even silly to even bring up, but like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, you be sacrilegious to say that. I mean, when Mitch I remember when he had to have that shoulder harness, I mean, they were fighting for playoff spot, and they ultimately did make the playoffs that year. So there was a little more sense, not to mention Mitch at that point in his career had a lot to prove himself to try to hold a starter spot. Justin Fields has nothing to prove to the fan base, and more importantly, the organization. There's no way, shape, or form that Ryan Poles and George McCaskey and Ian Cunningham and these guys in the front office are watching what we've all seen transpire over these last 6 weeks, and they're like, man, I got to see more before I'm sold on them. I mean, I know LaShawn McCoy is begging for Bears fans' attention, and he's going to get it with his clips of saying get a new quarterback, but he won't get that attention from me. So at minimum, he sits out past the bye. If Mitch had to sit out 2 weeks and then came back with a shoulder harness, I think it's abundantly clear he's going to, at minimum, sit out past the bye. If he doesn't, with what we know now, and maybe we'll know more as the days go on, and Justin will speak for himself at some point, but I'll be pissed, honestly, if they play him. I don't need him showing me his toughness against the Jets. I'll be furious if he plays against the Jets. Then we fast forward to the Packers game. I get they're our huge rival. I've been predicting that Aaron Rodgers may retire, and we all want to send him off the right way. But you know what? We got bigger fish to fry. C'est la vie, Aaron Rodgers. If that's how it goes, and that's our last game, and he gets one more on us because we couldn't play Justin Fields, and it's Trevor Siemian out there, you got to just eat it, because it's not more important. But Justin Fields showing up on his white horse to try to carry this team by himself, because that's the other thing, too. I was talking with a friend, my buddy Samir, last night, and I was telling him I don't want him shut down for the year. And he was like, we were going back and forth about this idea, and it was like, what is he really developing at this point as a quarterback? And I'm trying to like grasp at straws, like the little quick throws he's getting better at, ball placement, and learning to handle being in a chaotic pocket and staying calm under pressure. You saw the time where he scrambled in the second half for 48 seconds and then finds EQ on the right side. Like, those are things I think that will help him once he does have a good pocket, because you're not always going to be able to block it up, and you'll need those miraculous moments. But at the end of the day, how can you really say they're developing any kind of passing game that they're going to be able to put forward? I worry about not getting any chemistry with Chase Claypool, but again, bigger fish to fry. So that's kind of where I'm thinking you got to look in the macro when it comes to your franchise quarterback. And I think the Bears will. It'll just be a matter of will he play the last couple games? But I think he's definitely going to sit past the bye at this point from what we're saying and what you're saying, Will.
Yeah, and it definitely could just change how he plays quarterback too if he does play more this year, because a lot of his strength, as you mentioned, is that ability to buy time, make plays with his feet. Everyone knows that. And having that left arm to either stiff arm or fight off defenders or just kind of brace yourself when you're falling down or getting tackled to kind of lessen the blow. Like those are things he won't be able to do with the harness because he doesn't have that same range.
Right,
of
you'd
motion.
be pulling all the QB design runs out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then how are the Bears getting half of their first downs?
Yeah. That's a problem with Fields out there playing a different style of QB, or with Trevor Siemian out there too playing quarterback behind this offensive line. And we're going to talk a lot about that later on in the show, because I think it's going to be a really good discussion about how this offense must look differently with number 15 under center as opposed to number 1. Before we get Cody on here real quick, though, I just wanted to mention, so do you know about that Jets coin flip prediction that's still accurate, that someone so earlier this year, and I saw this on social and it pinged as I was getting ready for this show, someone flipped a coin.
Oh, I saw this screenshot.
It's still going.
I didn't realize this was from coin flips. I saw what you're talking. Okay, so
they literally flipped a coin, and every single week, oh wow, that was quick, and I didn't even have it in the notes. This thing is still going on.
The super producer Steve.
So as of the coin, the Bears should win this game if the coin is correct. Just want to throw that out there. It's been correct every single week here so far. And
that's the thing. We everyone but Corey Wooten picked the Bears to win this last week. We all fell into the trap. The last 2 weeks I have picking the Bears to beat the Lions and the Falcons. I believe you did too, Will. And I don't think they were terrible predictions. The Bears easily could have won either one of those games. There's a lot of things that need to go right when you have a small margin of error. But, yeah, it's like this game now feels like everyone's going to go the other way now that the Bears have fallen short here a couple weeks to, below average teams in a lot of ways. And, yeah, it's like Adam Hoge. He's joking on the postgame show, and then today on the noon show with Corey Wooten and Adam, he's like, do not let me pick the Bears this week. And it's just funny because, it just feels that way, right? We're all going to pick the Jets because the Bears just can't find a way to win any of these games. And it's starting to feel like, well, how can they do it? And it could go the complete opposite way. Even with Trevor Siemian in there, as funny as that sounds, I mean, I don't expect it. But at this point, nothing would surprise me. I mean, look at what the situation the Jets are in right now. Their franchise quarterback, the fan base is done with. There's segments of the team that are done with him. Garrett Wilson was visibly frustrated with Zach Wilson here last week. They had they only had 10 yards of offense or something. I'm exaggerating, but they literally could not move the ball here against the Patriots on Sunday. So no, it may go that way, but with Trevor Siemian, I highly doubt it, and I highly doubt that there's anybody from our CHGO Bears staff that's going to pick that. But, crazier things have happened.
We'll see. I may ride with that coin because it's just been a beast so far this year. Plus, we may see Mike White. So it's a backup quarterback versus backup quarterback. You just never know what you're going to get out of that.
Poor Adam, our resident expert. He's 3-8 picking the Bears this year.
Man,
that's tough. That's tough.
It's been a weird year
to pick. It is a weird year. They're a tough team to pick, so I'm not going to give him too much crap for it. But, when he comes on, maybe I'll give him a little. You never know.
There you go. All right, we got this Monday Night Football game that's about to kick off here in just a little while. So let's bring on Cody Delmendo here, and let's talk some bets. Cody, it's like a little dark and mysterious over there in your apartment. How's it going, man?
I'm good, guys. I should probably turn on this overhead light. I thought my lamp.
Oh, you look mysterious.
Oh,
yeah.
Very mysterious. Cool. Like Alfred Hitchcock. I got to give Cody a shout out real quick. I finally dove into this draft, the betting world, and opened my DraftKings account. And it was like trying to learn a second language. It was like trying to read Chinese to me. So it took Cody about 45 minutes on Saturday to walk me through this process, to truly sink my teeth into this stuff so I can give people fair advice and not just trying to shoot from the hip. And I actually came out on the plus side this week with my bets.
There you go.
Thankfully, because I put a good $40 on Justin Fields in the over and rushing yards. I think that may be the last time we see that hit this year. But I do got to give Cody a lot of credit and appreciation for helping me hold my hand through this.
Well,
so
it all started because I texted Greg at like halftime of the Illinois-Michigan game, and I was like, Greg, you want to put $10 on this for me? Because in the state of Illinois, you can't bet on teams in Illinois. And he instead of just saying, yeah, he calls me, and then it just ended up me like basically walking him through it. So
then I put 10 extra. I go, I'm going to do this with you, Cody. We're going to put 20 on Illinois to beat Michigan. I go, it's not going to happen, but we can do this for fun. And then for the rest of the Illinois game, I'm locked in and freaking out the entire game. Although I got some draft thoughts from watching that Illinois game. There's a cornerback, Witherspoon. I wouldn't mind seeing him play for the Bears. Good. But yeah, then for the rest of that game, I became the biggest Illinois fan in human history. I was like, I am locked in, Cody, but go on with your picks. I appreciate you, Cody.
Welcome to gambling. There you go.
Yes, it was a lot of fun.
You're a hardcore fan for a few hours. It's definitely a lot of fun. But Cody, take it away, sir. What's on your radar here this Monday night?
Well, guys, this game stinks. You got the Cardinals without Kyler Murray, but DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown are going to play. So you got weapons, but can you trust Colt McCoy to do anything? And then on the other side, the 49ers, they're pretty healthy. I think they're starting to ascend to, reach, the level that all of us kind of expected, but I still think that they would be better with Trey Lance in there, in my opinion. And that's coming from an Eastern Illinois grad who went to school with Garoppolo. So can't say I'm a biased fan of anything on this podcast ever. That's when you guys laugh. All right.
I had like a slight chuckle there. I was just trying not to cut you off with it.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. So tonight, every week I'm always saying under on primetime games, but like tonight, really, like I don't know how. Like the over under is 43. I think both teams are going to run the ball. James Conner with the Cardinals and McCaffrey and the other 7 running backs it feels like the 49ers have. I think that's what they're going to do with both teams. And the only way I see this going over is if, a guy like there's 2 or 3 huge plays where McCaffrey or someone just breaks one and, these teams find themselves in scoring position and, they capitalize. The reason that I like the under is I love betting unders on divisional contests. These 2 teams are in the same division. So, and the reason I like that is because I know both coaches know each other. And another thing that I like regarding the under is that the spread is so large for an NFL game. This morning it was at 10. Now it's down to 9.5. So I lean under more so for the fact of, well, if the 49ers actually cover this spread, more likely than not, the Cardinals aren't doing much on offense. But I don't see the 49ers putting up 40-some points. And if they do blow out the Cardinals, I see the Cardinals maybe getting a touchdown. Like, I don't know if they'll even hit double digits.
Cody, just want to chime in with that under prop. I do like that, and here's why. Also, strong chance of thunderstorms in Mexico City today, which is where the game's being played. So
well, I didn't even know that.
Line's actually moved down on top of that. So,
well, I was going to say it's moved down. Yeah, I was going to say, it's moved down to 9.5 now. I'm surprised the total hasn't moved down even further. But all that said, I am going to take the Cardinals tonight on top of the under one because on primetime, the underdogs have been very profitable this year. The underdog covered again last night. I actually had Chargers money line and Patrick Mahomes tore my soul to shreds in the final 4 minute and 46 seconds, which I should have expected and I should have cashed out, but I let it ride. And that's gambling, folks. So you guys know I'm a little bit of a trends guy, and
yes,
Cliff Kingsbury against the spread as an underdog, he's 22-11-2, and that includes 7-1-1 against the spread against the 49ers in his career as a coach for the Cardinals, obviously. And then Kyle Shanahan against the spread as a favorite. He's 19-28-1. So it's just something weird about how these coaches are different when they're favorites or underdogs, I guess. I don't know how, like, if it was a big, like, it's the 22-11-2 for Cliff Kingsbury as an underdog is just wild to me. And it's wild. Like, there's another one out there where he is awful as a home favorite, but he, again, is just great as a home underdog. You know what I mean? Like, anytime Cliff Kingsbury is a favorite, fade him. But anytime he's an underdog, slam him. Like, that's what it feels like. And last week, for example, they were 8-point dogs, I want to say, to the Rams, and then they won outright pretty easily. It's pretty wild. And so, like, that's the trends. But then also, like, I look at these two quarterbacks and, like, again, Garoppolo, loved the guy in college, but, like, how much different is it between Colt McCoy and Jimmy Garoppolo, outside of the fact that Garoppolo's been a really good game manager for most of his career, and Colt McCoy has just been a backup for most of his career, where he's been able to come in and help you for a game or two, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, to me, there isn't a lot of difference from either one. I love to talk about how, you know, Garoppolo has all these, like, I don't know if you guys saw the graphic on social media. Like, I think it was after the Niners last primetime game. I think it was last Sunday, actually. He's like, what? His last 10 games or something, or no, last 12 games, he's 10-2 or something on prime time or something. But, like, he has, like, no touchdowns. I don't know. It was a graphic that was on social media last Sunday after they beat the Chargers. But basically, a lot of it is the classic showing up to the group project but doing absolutely nothing type meme. He's just a really good game manager, and sometimes he'll have really good games. But, like, I just don't envision that happening tonight. I think the Cardinals defense has been playing better of late. And with Murray out, like, that defense knows they got to show up tonight. So yeah, I'm going to take the Cardinals again. I got them at 10, even at 9.5. I'd still play. I'd play it down to a touchdown, because I just think it's going to be a, single digits under a score type game, because I think it's going to be a battle of field position all night, and whoever runs the ball better is going to win the game. Like, and I'm just not fully in on this 49ers team. Like, I think it was the second week they had McCaffrey. Like, he had that huge game, but then last week against the Chargers, they were 8-point favorites, and it took them a comeback in the fourth quarter to just win the game. Then they did not play up to, like, what Vegas thought they would be, which was, beat them by basically a touchdown and an extra point at least. And, like, they just haven't really impressed me to a point to where I can lay money on something for 9.5 or 10 points. I just think because these two teams play each other twice a year and these coaches know each other, like, they're going to figure out a way to do what they can do. The Cardinals can do what they can do, given the situation, have success given the situation they have. And then the 49ers being able to just kind of continue to do what they do, but they like to eat the clock because they just love running the ball. So, like, I don't know. I would be shocked if it's a blowout. That's where I sit.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I expect it to be closer than you said. It was like, what, the line's at 10.5. Yeah,
it's 10. It was at 10 this morning, moved down to 9.5, and then when Steven jumped in saying that there's expected rain and stuff like that, I mean, that then as Bears fans, we remember from week 1 against the 49ers. Yep. I mean, anything can happen in a game like that. I mean, I'm not assuming that, like, there's gonna be a monsoon, but, like, anytime the weather conditions play a factor, I think any team can win on that given day. So, and again, like, that Cardinals team, when they have struggled, they've struggled with Kyler Murray too. Like, they've had their struggles, but I don't know. I'm feeling like they're coming into this game with a lot of confidence after beating the Rams, and I know the Rams have been a big disappointment this year, but they still have a really good defense, and they're kind of fighting for their playoff lives right now. So this game definitely means more to them. Not that the game doesn't mean anything to the 49ers, but I I don't know. I don't think they win tonight, but I just think they hang around.
That's understood. No, that's pretty much where my consensus was too when I was looking at this matchup. But I think you summarized it pretty perfectly when you first came on. You're like, this game stinks. Like, this is one where, man, I have a hard time feeling like as soon as I'm off this show, I'm gonna like run to my TV and like have to put it on. Like some of the other matchups we've had this year, like I'm gonna take my sweet ass time between this show and getting back there because I don't think I'm gonna miss anything.
Right. Yeah. Now that said, I did come up with a parlay for this game, and you can just call it "This Game Stinks" parlay. All it is Garoppolo and McCoy to each throw an interception, and then I have under passing yards on McCoy at 244.5 and under passing yards for Garoppolo at 249.5. And if you use your stepped up same game parlay boost, you can get it at plus 781. So, yeah, I mean, I would, if I'm making any parlay for this game, I'm betting under on whatever. maybe
it feels
maybe
like
bet over on someone like on Connor or McCaffrey's rushing yards or something like that. But yeah, I just don't know how things are going to go out for both of them tonight.
we can call it the underwhelming parlay for the game tonight. How about
There
that?
you go. There you go. The underwhelming parlay.
But that's why you get into it, right? I mean, then it makes the game interesting. If you take the under, for me here in Indiana, it's set at 43. Then you're hanging on pins and needles
Yep.
to make sure that they, and that's, that's the beauty of gambling that I learned over the weekend. The real way, not just giving out Kari Blasingame for an anytime touchdown every Sunday. Now, when you start putting your real shekels into it, then you start living and breathing with these decisions. So
yeah, I had a good Sunday betting the Bears game, despite I did bet them to win outright, and I pushed on the spread because I got it at 3 and they lost by 3. Right, should have got it at 3.5 when I could have. But I had Fields rushing yards. I had Fields longest completion over 31.5. I had Cordero Patterson over on rushing, and I want to say had over receiving for Cole Kmet too.
Wow, right on. Good work there.
Over for receiving for Cole Kmet, he only had like 3 catches.
Yeah, but I think the total was like it was in the 20s.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
they usually keep his lines really low, even though he's been playing good over the last month. That's always surprised me when I check those Bears.
And that's
games.
one of those things. Like, and this is here's just some gambling advice, and I guess the best advice I could give is you want to try and catch these guys when when the market is low on them, right? Like that's why week 2 I started slamming Justin Fields rushing yards. You know what I mean? Like.
Because the market is now dried up.
Yeah. And that's why it's moved up to like 60. I mean, I was getting it at 40 like a month ago, right? Now it's they just keeps moving up.
Yeah, it moved from 67 all the way up to 72.5 by kickoff yesterday.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And they were right on it because once he hit over 75 at halftime, then the bottom dropped out with the rushing yards. So I guess Vegas was banking on it's only a matter of time, but they lost out big on Justin Fields rushing yards. Somebody could be a real rich man if they were putting down heavy money. Because I put 40 down, and as I put the 40 down, I was like, I could put 500 down, and he is going to hit this. And while it was close because of how we saw he finished in the second half, he hit it no problem at the end of the first half. So it's like, I guess that's the price of playing poker.
Right. Yeah, no, I actually just did the alternate rushing yards for Fields where it was like 75 plus. I got it at like plus 105. So it was just in a little extra value there. And yeah, I was starting to get afraid there in like the fourth quarter when I saw he had like 73 and I'm like, oh God. And like you knew, especially in those last few drives that he wasn't going to try to run. And then, yeah, I don't want to walk you guys through the ending again. That was painful.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah. No.
That's I already looked at the lines for Sunday, Bears Jets, and if we get Mike White versus Trevor Siemian, like slam the under, like
all
immediately. Day. Like the moment that you learn that those two guys are going to be starting in that game, slam the under, and then pray for anyone who actually watches it for like fun.
Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that, Cody.
Yeah, we're going to be covering it here for all you.
He said for fun, but I mean, I try to still watch it through the lens of
that's
fun.
enough. I mean, I joke like we are blessed to be able to do this for a living, right? But yeah, I mean, it just won't have as much excitement as if Fields was playing, because he's the only reason, honestly, that I've had any real interest, especially, I mean, within the last month at least, because once you realize, okay, this team isn't going to be in the playoffs, it becomes hard to, look at the positives. And I knew coming in this year, the positive or negative was going to be Justin Fields. And I just hope that he can play on Sunday, but I totally understand if he doesn't play. Like I lean for him to just not play, because why push it whenever, we are where we're at.
Right. That's where I'm at. If it's, after a dislocation, he's your franchise guy. He's proved it. No reason to rush him on the field. Cody, we're going to have to take a break here and then bring on Adam. Thanks again for hopping on, giving us your expertise here before this Monday night game kicks off. Absolutely. And hopefully you win some people money. And Greg, of course, you'll be giving him lessons throughout the remainder probably of his life now, it seems like.
I send him voicemail or just voice messages instead of texting him. Sometimes they're motivational. Sometimes I'm cursing him out. But no, he's in deep with me now when it comes to the betting world. I got to lean on him until my training wheels come off, which may not be for a while, until I learn how to actually do a parlay myself.
I have faith you'll get there.
I have faith. We'll talk through it the next time we're both in the office, Greg.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Cody.
All right,
later, Cody.
Good. Have a good night.
Appreciate it. You too, man. All right, I'm going to get 2 quick reads out of the way, and then we'll bring on Adam. I want to let you know about Shady Rays, one of my favorite partners that we have here at CHGO, a company that I've been a customer of for years now. And Shady Rays has never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall, because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. They are premium polarized shades, feature world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles that cater to everyone and every lifestyle. And one of the best parts about Shady Rays, and the reason why I love them, is they have like the most insane protection program in all of eyewear, which is lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your shades on day 1, 10, 100, they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. I've been, like I said, a customer for years. Even after a couple of years, I lost mine, emailed them, the questions asked, had a new pair coming to me in the mail. And a good thing that they do is just really just a lot of good in the United States here, providing meals to fight hunger. For every order placed, they provide 10 meals to fight hunger, and they have donated over 20 million meals to date. So you can do a lot of good for your eyes as well as the country here. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. That's buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem only at shadyrays.com with that code CHGO. And then on top of that too, I want to let you know about Next Evo. And have you ever taken CBD and wondered is this thing actually working? Like I've done that, whether it be topical oils or some other supplements. I just don't know if it's working. And if you're actually wondering if it's working, that means it wasn't. So Next Evo Naturals, they have developed Smart Sorb technology, which is clinically proven to help your body absorb CBD 4 times better than regular CBD oil, because oil doesn't just mix with our water-based body. And now for me, I've noticed it helping when I take it. I get a little bit sore just honestly having a baby, having to bend down, pick them up a million times a day. It feels like you get a little bit of soreness going on. So the CBD for me does make a big difference from Next Evo for sure. And so don't just settle for less. Get your supply of Next Evo Naturals Revive CBD Complex today. Or shop their gummies, capsules, and mints proven to absorb 4 times faster than standard CBD oil. And get 25% off when you subscribe and spend $40 or more at nextevo.com/recover with promo code BEARS. That is nextevo.com/recover. And again, that promo code is BEARS. All right, Monday night, CHGO Bears After Dark. We just talked about some Monday Night Football bets, and now it's time to bring on Adam Hoge, who was at Halas Hall earlier today for some updates, and I don't think they're all that great based off of what I was paying attention to this afternoon. But Adam, how's it going, man?
What's up, guys? Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting press conference today, to say the least. I don't think we learned too much about Justin Fields' shoulder injury. Of course, Ian Rapoport coming out saying recently, I'm sure you guys have already covered this, that it's a shoulder dislocation, non-throwing shoulder. It kind of jives with the vibes I was getting and some information I got this morning that was like, still not exactly sure what it is, but doesn't, it's probably not the end of the world. It's probably something he can play through, whether that's this week or in coming weeks. But it's a painful thing. And I think it at least opens up the question. And I just put a column up on allchgo.com about this. If he can play, that's one thing, but should he play is the other question. And we talked a little bit about this on the post game yesterday and today too, as well, on the CHGO Bears podcast.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a big question. I encourage everyone to head over to our site to give that column a read. But I know it's like the non-throwing shoulder, but it's still dislocated, which means that labrum is injured. The muscles surrounding it are sore. They're out, like they had to be stretched. Those tendons and ligaments that hold the shoulder in place have been stretched. It is a concern. I know you can put a brace on it, but that should still, for at least personally, take some time before you even do that and put them out there in the contact sport. And I know Mitch Trubisky had a very similar injury, actually the same injury back in 2019. Yep. He took a week off and then he threw on the brace and was able to play for the remainder of the year. And Greg and I talked about that too.
I think he missed 2 games and there was a bye week. I know it's been a few years. Do you remember that going that way, Adam?
I think so.
Then he came back for the Saints game, and that was the infamous "I didn't come here to run the I formation" game. And he comes back because I can remember saying this back then and ranting and raving that they, after 4 weeks of being off, they threw it like 56 times and ran it a franchise record low 7 times. And I was like, he's just coming back from a shoulder injury. And then Matt Nagy says the infamous, "I didn't come here to run the I formation."
I want to say it was 2 weeks, including the bye, because that would have been the London game against the Raiders where Chase Daniel started. And then the following week was the bye week. And then the Saints game was after that when he came back.
So
that's
would
exactly
be
correct.
So that'd be the exact timeline we could see here with Justin Fields, potentially with 2 games and then the bye week.
Was 1 week and then the bye.
Okay.
He got hurt at the beginning of that game against the Vikings, missed the remainder of that game, of course, missed the game versus the Raiders, came back and threw 54 attempts against the Saints, like you were saying.
Yeah, and really, I just think it's too bad because the thing, I think we were all upset about the play calling at the end of the game yesterday when we talked about this stuff and a couple of things here. I mean, the one thing we did learn today from Matt Eberflus, which I think makes me feel at least a little bit better, was that second down play call was not a design run for the quarterback. It was supposed to be a handoff to David Montgomery. And you can actually see on the replay that Montgomery put his hands out like this to take the handoff. He was lined up just to the left of Fields, and it was one of those delayed draws. And so he kind of like stutter steps, puts his hands there, and Fields just never hands him the ball, and then he just takes it. So I don't know if that was a result of the pain he was dealing with. No idea. Obviously, some miscommunication that can happen. I think you can still question whether or not they should have been running the ball there. I have questions about on both of those plays whether or not they should have been running, no matter who was running.
Exactly.
I mean, and here's the reason. I think 9 times out of 10, I'd be okay with a run there. You have 147 on the clock, 3 timeouts, and you're a really good rushing team. But you got to respond to the game flow and what's going on. And the context, the full context that I think should have been being considered on that sideline is, one, Fields had not been picking up yards on the ground in that second half. I think he had 7 yards rushing at that point in the second half. As a whole, I mean, you're doing okay running the ball. But on top of that, you have Fields saying going into the week that his legs were tired, and now he's dealing with cramps. He's literally on the sideline getting stretched out.
Yes.
And then the thing that really popped out to me when I rewatched the game, and this was also in the column I just put up, kind of breaking this down, that drive that he had just finished before when they tied the game was one of his better drives throwing the ball we've seen all season. Yep. 3rd and 3 conversion, another 3rd and 3 conversion with a good pre-snap read. The great throw to Montgomery down the sideline that we've talked a lot about, where he's standing there in the pocket. He's got time, good for the offensive line on that play. And he realizes, hey, Cole Kmet, you're not blocking anyone. Go run a route. Go do something. David Montgomery turns his flat into a wheel. Bam, strike down the sideline. And then later, you have a 3rd and 12. He scrambles around, runs around, throws a nice throw to Equinemius St. Brown for 14. He was playing quarterback. Yep. And I just feel like that was a huge missed opportunity to build on that. So here you go. He ties the game. He does what everybody with these awful arguments about how he's not really a quarterback. So, oh, well, he doesn't do it in the 4th quarter. He doesn't make these plays. Well, there he did it. He did it multiple times on that drive for you. Tied the game. Okay, defense can't hold the lead. Well, go right back to that. And even if you do want to run the ball to start, just do a straight handoff to Montgomery then. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated or be on Justin Fields' legs when you consider the full context of he's cramping, he's clearly tired, he's clearly running out of gas, and then on top of that, just shoulder injury. But see, injuries happen when you're not 100%. Like, that's part of the deal. If he's 100%, he beats that guy to the sideline, probably doesn't even get hit out of bounds. Probably just walks out of bounds. And that's what happens when you're not 100%.
And that's why I put, to your point about the second play being a miscommunication on Justin, that maybe that lets the coaching staff off the hook on injury negligence, but does it because of the first play call, as you just mentioned? Like, should they get a complete pass there, or should it still be critical? Because everyone could clearly see how tired he was. He could barely pull himself off the field, off the mat, so to speak, prior to that. So to me, it still makes no sense. And I still have a tough time, even in spite of that, revelation that the miscommunication wasn't on the coaching staff, to give Coach Eberflus and Luke Getsy a pass on that decision. They kind of hung him out to dry there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see a comment from Michael H. about Trevor Siemian and like how that may change play calling. Greg and I are going to talk about Trevor in depth after Adam's segment here, so just kind of hang around for that. But I think you're right, Adam, where I think the injury probably was why that miscommunication between he and Montgomery happened, because even in his post-game presser that I was watching after my bit on the post-game show, he couldn't answer a few of the questions. He's like, I don't know what happened. And I've never seen that from Fields. So I feel like he was just dealing with something like so severe at the time, like the pain, that he couldn't even focus on really anything other than that. And that's unfortunate for the Bears, unfortunate to him, but it's kind of,
or maybe worried that his season was over. Cause that's what I wanted to ask you, Adam. Like Will's saying, potential surgery in the offseason. You're seeing some of that on Twitter now that the news broke about it being a dislocated shoulder. Is it crazy to suggest, like, let's say he would need the surgery, and it's a 5 to 6 month recovery time for that kind of surgery? Why wouldn't you just do it right now?
Sure, if that's what they determine. You don't always need surgery with a dislocated shoulder, though. I mean, it depends
on the labrum and how torn it is, really.
Right.
Is this the second time he's dislocated this shoulder, or is this the first time?
From what I saw from Patrick Finley right before we went live, he said it happened a couple of years ago. And unless he was talking about Mitch, and then I misread that one. I do want to double check now, actually, now that I say it out loud. It's a good point. But still, like, for it to happen.
I don't want to break any more news on our airways.
Let's not, right? Let's not. But, like, for me, again, like, I have a lot of personal experience. And once it pops out once, it's prone to pop out again. You can do rehab, strengthen the muscles around it. But if those tendons are stretched so much, and that labrum has even a slight tear, like, he's going to be prone for it popping out in the future. And if it's one of those where, surgery may not be like 100% necessary, but it can fix it 100% moving forward, I'm not opposed to just getting it out of the way now, so it's not another lingering issue down the road. We've already known this year is kind of a wash year. We saw him develop, but outside of that, this team only 3 wins. I'd hate to be in a position another year or two down the road where this team has developed and been built, but then this injury comes back, then he's off the back on the shelf, and then we're kind of stuck with the backup when we could have had it fixed in the first place.
Yeah, and 6 months from right now is already kind of middle half of the OTAs, actual on-field practice time. So I think this gets back to the original point, which is weigh everything you can here, and like really, what is what's the benefit of him going out there and playing in these last 6 games? Well, it's further development. It's, building on what he has in recent weeks in the passing game. But if he's in danger of taking a shot to that shoulder at any given moment, are you just going to put him back in the offense the way you had it earlier this season, which is he just stands there in the pocket and has to scramble when nobody's open,
Right.
and he takes a bunch of shots? That doesn't seem productive to because really what you want to establish here is an offense where he can do both, right? And I think, again, this gets back to what's a shame here is, like, even if he had gone 3 and out or thrown an interception on first down, throwing the ball, at least he wouldn't be hurt. And you can build on what he did in the fourth quarter, earlier in the fourth quarter next week, and you would have these games. But I just feel like either way, if he's playing hurt, you don't really have – you're already not putting him in a fair position to develop. We've been talking about that all season. Now you're going to add an injury to it on top of that. It seems really unfortunate. And it just kind of speaks to, again, so let me just get back to it. If he doesn't need surgery, then I think you give this time, you see if you can still squeeze something out of the season. But if they've determined that this is something that even if he can play through it now, he needs surgery come January, then I'm kind of with you guys. I would knock this thing out as soon as possible. I don't know what else he's going to get out of this. Then you upgrade the offensive line. Then you upgrade the receivers. You have a higher draft pick because they almost certainly will lose out at that. I don't want to say they're going to lose. Yeah, I don't know. Trevor Siemian might be able to beat what's going on with the Jets right now on offense. But it just makes too much sense then at that point. So
because well, and like I said, my buddy Kevin Lapka, who's an athlete, he's played in sports and stuff. So I mean, he's no doctor though. So I want to preface this. He does work for Bears Nation pod, and he does some stuff with 670 The Score. He was talking about the recovery time on a surgery like this. It's 5 to 6 months. But then the thing that really stood out to me was like the redislocation percentage goes from 80 to 90% without the surgery to 0 to 10% if you get it. So, if that's true, and those numbers are true, and again, Kevin is no doctor, but if that is true, to me, it's like a no-brainer at this point. If he definitely needs it, I guess, is the preface there. So, it is just disappointing. We all got a little too, I agree with Mark. We all kind of got a little too excited here these last 6 weeks and didn't take a step back to think, how much of a risk this is to him, because it was just so much fun to watch. And he really wasn't getting hit all that much. Like in the Dolphins game when he had the record break, how many times did he really take a tough hit? But then this week when he says, I have tired legs going into the game, and then Greg's like, I don't care. I'm still slamming the over with your rushing yards. And it hit, but at what cost? But
now see, that's where
get a quarterback the next couple weeks.
Well, and Braggs, that's where I'm a little frustrated with the coaching staff, because I was certainly one of the people championing the idea of, hey, look, he's actually getting hit less with this running. Like they're doing it in a smart way. And I thought it was very obvious on the tape last week against the Lions. They overcorrected, that it started to go over the line of responsibility. Too much zone read. JT O'Sullivan pointed that out in his breakdown of last week's game too, that it was a little bit, and he's Mr. Run the quarterback all the time. And he thought that it was starting to edge on irresponsibility there. And then when you hear your quarterback if he says that in a press conference, he's kind of making it cry to the public. Like, yo, my legs are tired. I just want everybody to know this. And guess what? He ran a season high, I'm assuming career high, 18 times in that game. That was the most. That just doesn't seem responsible to me. Injury aside, let's say he doesn't get hurt on that last drive.
Against a bad passing defense too.
It's still a questionable play call. If he runs out of bounds there, with no injury, we're all still on Twitter going, whoa, what the hell was that?
Right.
So it's just too bad that that's how it finished, because I actually thought the Bears were doing a really, really, really good job of doing this responsibly. And I think it got away from him the last 2 weeks.
It absolutely did. Adam, is there anything else major from Halas Hall we should know about, like tonight? Anything pressing?
I don't think so. No. I thought the other interesting thing was it sounded like this was not necessarily different, but greater in volume the amount of plays that Matt Eberflus showed to the team today. He said it was 30-something plays that they went over in their film session today, and Eberflus's goal was to show them how it's all related, offense, defense, special teams. And, I just thought that was an interesting nugget. It seemed like a little bit more than usual. I think they're getting frustrated with the losing. That being said, you start to see the Bears creeping up there in the top 3 of the NFL draft, and you're like, yeah, maybe that's not the end of the world.
It's interesting that you get towards the end of November, and that perspective can start to change after losing 4 straight games. Adam, before you go, do you have 3 to 4 minutes to play 2 Truths and a Lie with Greg, so he's not doing it alone?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, let's do it quickly.
Cool. I just got 2 rounds, and then I'll let you go. All right, so I'm going to give you 3 statements, and you guys have to figure out which one is the lie. So here's the first round. Darnell Mooney has caught 88.2% of his targets over the last 3 weeks, which is in the top 10 of wide receivers who have seen at least 8 targets in this span. Justin Jones is top 10 in pressures among defensive linemen over the last 3 weeks. And then every single Bear that has seen 4 or more targets on defense since week 9 has given up a passer rating of 115 or higher. Which one is the lie?
Oh, my head definitely hurts from this one.
I told you I was going to step it up again this week for you.
I guess I'd say the Justin Jones pressures is my lie.
Okay.
I'm going to say Mooney's the lie.
Mooney is the lie. That's what Adam thinks. So Mooney's true. He's 9th in the NFL over the last 3 weeks at that 88.2%. Pretty consistent. I'll take it. You guys are both right about every single Bear giving up 115 or higher pass rating. Jack Sanborn's actually the lowest at 116, just showing you where this Bears pass defense has been. But Justin Jones is 15th among defensive linemen with only 6 pressures. Good job.
I did it. Take
I'm
that,
proud of you.
Adam, smart guy. The caveman got it.
It just seemed too obvious to be the answer. I overthought it.
Will's tricky with these. Will's tricky with these.
I try. All right, last round. I'm going to let Adam go. Cole Kmet's one-handed grab for 24 yards was a top 5 distance catch at the tight end position so far this week. Again, so far we still have a Monday night to go. Jack Sanborn is tied for the 2nd most tackles at linebacker in the entire NFL over the last 3 weeks. And then the Bears have 2 players in the top 10 in kick return average of kick returners with 3 or more attempts this season.
I hope
Which
it's the
one?
3rd one
Man.
because Sanborn. I want
see, there we go.
The Sanborn one to be true. So
I feel like all 3 of those are true.
Well, that's not how the game is played.
There's one of these is a lie.
Can you read the last one again?
Yeah, the last one was the Bears have 2 players in the top 10 in kick return average in the entire league of returners who have 3 or more attempts this season. I just took out all the people who had 1.
With at least 3. Yeah, I think that's true.
You think that one's true? Well, I need to know which one's the lie. Is it Sanborn being 2nd in the NFL at tackles over the last 3 weeks at linebacker?
Yeah, these are always tricky because then Sanborn could end up being 3rd
or
not
something.
2nd. And that's
But you
how
never
he gets
know.
you.
Or he's like 15th in the league. You don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go.
You're
I
gonna...
don't know.
Give me one, A, B, or C. Just give me a letter then.
I'm going to go A. I don't know why. I didn't watch enough of the league. I don't know.
Good job.
Yeah. Okay,
you got it.
That many tight ends had big catches yesterday? I know Kelsey did.
Apparently so. Cole Kmet's 24-yard catch ranked 7th so far of all tight ends.
I don't even know what a distance catch because
yards like how many yards he gained on that catch.
Oh, yards. I thought it was like
the long.
I thought it was like
His
distance
wingspan.
as far as like wings. That's what I legitimately thought.
No. But Jack Sanborn is tied for 2nd at linebacker. He's tied with Eagles TJ Edwards. Rashawn Evans has the most at 25. So he's only 2 behind, leading the league at the linebacking position for tackles. For a guy that's only started these 3 games, I think that's pretty damn tremendous. And then you guys are both right about the kick return one. Herbert is 3rd in the NFL at 29.2 average, and Velus Jones Jr. is sitting there too at 9th at 26 flat. So interesting numbers here, but I like that even got Adam like thinking on all cylinders there. So that's fun.
I like it too.
It's
Keep
fun for
Adam
you.
on his toes.
It is fun for me, but I put a lot of time trying to find these interesting stats and putting things.
Those are
in
good
perspective
nuggets.
for
Those are good
everybody.
nuggets. I definitely agree.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Adam. But all right, I'll let you skedaddle. Have a
Can you
good
do
rest of
me
your
a
evening.
Can you do me a favor, Adam, when you see Marcus? I'm not going to see him till Sunday. Can you tell him with his Hester slander that I hope that his turkey is dry on Thursday? That's
Wow.
That's what I wish on him.
That hurt me, and I'm not even going to eat.
I
Carnes
hope it's
turkey.
dry. And I hope
Yeah,
he
I had to
doesn't get-
walk out on the show before that happened. I think that's why
They
he
went
snuck
another
in.
30 minutes of his Hester slander.
Yeah, and I find it very suspicious that he decided to go in that direction with me not sitting there on the panel. Because he just knows I would have crushed him for it.
I don't handle that. Devin Hester is my favorite Chicago Bear of all time. This man right here, Mark. Don't you ever talk about him in a disparaging way again, or I will riot. I swear to God, I will riot. I do not accept that kind of slander on CHGO. So you send the message. I hope his turkey is dry.
Somewhere I have that same photo. I was turning around because I thought it was behind me, but I'm not sure it is. Somewhere around here. All right, guys, I got to run.
What do you do with that?
Good show. Talk to you later.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Later,
Adam.
Thanks.
Greg, I'm going to riot if you don't tell people about Shay Town Cornhole, though. I've been waiting.
Oh, well, I am ready to tell you about Shay Town Cornhole because these guys are some of the best in the business. And you could maybe even get, Hester customized cornhole boards from these guys at Shay Town Custom Cornhole, the #1 cornhole provider for Chicagoland in Illinois since 2007. Their signature box style design can be digitally printed, covered in vinyl, and painted. Their cornhole boards come with built-in drink holders, recessed in on the back, LEDs that light up the hole and exterior, handles for easy carrying, and handcrafted scorekeepers. They're veteran-owned and operated. They can ship anywhere and offer local pickups, specializing in corporate designs for your company's next marketing or social event, wedding gifts, and gifts for all occasions, including Christmas, you kiddos that need to catch up on your Christmas shopping, and especially for tailgaters and backyard barbecues. Go check out their website, shytowncornhole.com, and make sure to follow them on Instagram, or as IG, as the kids call it, at Shytown Custom Cornhole Boards.
There you go. Good stuff there, Greg. I want to let everyone know about DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. They are my go-to in betting on the NFL this holiday season. Why? Well, I mean, so many reasons. They have same-game parlays, easy and fast payouts, player prop options, alternate game lines. I love that I get to really customize my same-game parlay to really where I believe things should stand. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. So check this out right now. Everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. You know, we've already had a great conversation with Cody about some of these. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost and the bigger your shot to win big. And of course, the experience with the app, it's just easy. I mean, Greg was able to get set up. And of course, it took him a little bit of work with Cody, but that was more on like the actual strategy behind
Most
it.
normal people can do it a lot.
There you go. So easy. A caveman can do it. I don't know if that applies here, but I'm going to say it anyway. But again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code CHGO. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right.
Casey in the chat, he wanted to ask you, isn't it called bags in Illinois? He got chewed out on one show for questioning this. I mean, I call it bags. I mean, the original saying is cornhole, but you know, I call it bags. Do you call it bags, Will?
I call it bags. I know it's cornhole. And I know like they're called Shay Town Cornhole. So I'm going to the cornhole route for our partner there for them.
Sure.
But yes, bags, I think, is the most common term that I've heard used for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever come to one of our tailgates, like our upcoming Bears Packers tailgate, which we're really going to do it up big for all our CHGO supporters, if you come to that tailgate, I'm happy to, kick your ass in some bags, Casey. So come on out and see if you can take this, see if you can handle this big bags brags. I'd probably lose. You never know.
Trademark that way you can.
Yeah.
Big
I got
bags
enough
brags.
trademarks in the works with Brick by Brick and We Riot.
Love it.
Like so
It's a fun process.
Rise and Shine. That's Mark Harmon's favorite is the Rise and Shine. So
there you go. All right. So I know we're running a little longer than I really anticipated, which is not a bad thing. I love having these conversations.
Well, I talk a lot. Well, I'm not going to pass out for you tonight.
That's good.
Unfortunately for you, because then you could get more words in edgewise.
Real quick, I want to make sure that everyone knows and we get this 100% clarified. So the injury that Finley did tweet about was Trubisky's in 2019. The conversation that we've already had in depth on this show. So I don't need to reiterate all those facts, but I just want to mention. So Justin hasn't had this in the past. I still believe if it happened, you may as well just get it fixed, because with just rehab, the chance of re-injury is so much higher than if you just get the damn surgery and get it out of the way. But we'll see what the Bears decide and what Justin decides. But that's just one guy who had 6 shoulder dislocations, speaking from experience. And that's me trying to do it through rehab. And of course, I'm not a professional athlete, so there are huge differences between me and Justin Field. All right, so we have 2 topics I want to get into before we kind of sign off here. Number one is, like, when do we start just playing these young guys? Because we lost Zachary Thomas on the practice squad last week to the Rams, and I think that's gone totally under the radar. And it's not like I'm going to bed crying about losing Zachary Thomas, but he is someone that the Bears invested a draft pick on, and I hate watching these young players go to another team and get experience elsewhere. And so when I look at just this Bears roster, even the practice squad, like DeMarcus Gates is still sitting there. I remember DeMarcus Gates. He had a hell of a preseason, one of the stars for the Bears there at the linebacking position. He was that USFL standout. I don't know, like, why not give him a shot out there in the active roster? Whether it's special teams, are Joe Thomas, Matt Adams, like, really needle movers? No. Right. But DeMarcus Gates, like, why not see what you have on him? I know he's young. He has experience in some of these, I'll call, like, minor leagues, and he's really played well in the preseason. So he's like one guy that I like to see play. Sterling Weatherford, same thing. I feel like I'm at a point where I know Nicholas Morrow isn't going to be a big part of the Bears' future. So either replace them or just start splitting reps. They weren't afraid to split reps with Tevin Jenkins and Lucas Patrick earlier this season. Why not start splitting reps with Morrow and Sterling Weatherford? Get him some chances out there too. Same thing with like Ja'Tyre Carter and Elijah Hicks, another rookie that I think a lot of Bears fans are excited about. Maybe you just put him in the DeAndre Houston Carson role out there in the dime package. DHC's played anywhere between 1 and 8 snaps on defense. Why not start handing them over to a younger guy? Again, get film on them. Expedite some of this growth. I don't know what they're seeing in practice. We don't get to see that, but I feel like just some of these younger players could really benefit from getting out there. And even like a guy that you acquired this year, in Alex Leatherwood, just get him on the field, because you went out there, you claimed him for a reason. N'Keal Harry, you traded for him for a reason. Just throw him on the field and see what you have. You're at the point where you don't need to overthink these things, and really the offensive line.
Right, because then what sense does it make you bring Alex Leatherwood over here for his potential, and you're playing Riley Reif? Is he a part of your long-term future? No, he's not. So, I get there's a balance, because you have to also protect Justin Fields, but same with N'Keal Harry. You gave up a 7th-round pick for him. Is St. Brown? I understand Pettis is on the depth chart because of his punt returning, and we don't have anybody else that can catch punt returns unless we want to risk Eddie Jackson, our star safety out there, which I don't think they want to do. So I get the Pettis aspect of it. There is a special teams dynamic that goes into these considerations, but at the same time, I'm with you with some of those names, and even in some of the more unknown names. Why not is the appropriate question. Why not? Especially now, as we're getting to the end of the year, let's start developing or seeing what we have in some of these guys, and especially a guy like Alex Leatherwood.
And I like Laz's comment here too about, Dieter Iceland, like another young offensive lineman that's just been, he's here, but he has been able to see the field. And Schofield really disappointed last week. Sam Mustipher has not played to a high level. I don't think anyone's going to call Sam Mustipher's play like, top tier starting center play, and that the Bears don't need to look at
all season long.
Yeah.
Sam Mustipher is not cutting the bill. So,
no.
Again, why not?
Yep. That's where I'm at. I wasn't there a couple weeks ago. I'll be honest with you. I'll be very transparent. I wasn't to this point yet then, but after losing the fourth straight, and I have Justin's injury to take into the equation, I think there's no reason why you can't give these younger guys some looks out there, get some film on it, and expedite their growth. It's just really plain and simple. If you start planning for 2023, and the best way to do it is to really know what you have in some of these guys that you brought in, that you claimed, that you traded for, that you just haven't been able to give any experience to yet.
And, Jatir Carter I get, but I'm more concerned about Tevin Jenkins getting out there and playing. I got respect that he's injured. Jacob wants to know why he didn't play. Well, he said, Coach Eberflus said after the game that they asked Tevin, what his availability was. And he said, he could be a emergency backup, that he was still hurt, but he would be happy to be on the roster as an emergency backup. Well, I kind of take exception to that when you consider Jalen Johnson, and everyone's injuries are different. So I'm skating down a road that I don't know the full picture of. But at the same time, Jalen Johnson played injured, with his hip or abdomen.
It was some lower extremity.
Abdomen, something like that.
Something. Yeah.
Regardless, he played injured, and he was, vocal about that he wasn't 100%, and he went out there. Justin Fields, your leader, you're the guy that you're blocking for, the guy that you're protecting, is saying all week he has tired legs and still giving everything he has to this team and this franchise. He doesn't have any skin in the game for this season. There's guys on this team that aren't promised a roster spot next year. Justin's out there in a lot of ways playing for those guys, because if Justin's not out there, the offense is never going to be on the field. And then the tape that you need to pass to the rest of the league to try to get a job next year will evaporate. So for Justin to go out there and lay his health on the line, but you won't do that as a backup. You want to be the emergency backup. You're not ready to go. To me, just speaks to, not giving everything you have to the team and your teammates. And that's frustrating. And again, maybe I'm stepping over a little bit here without knowing the full picture of his injury severity. But if he can't play, he's emergency backup, then just don't have – we talked about this on the postgame show. Then he just shouldn't be active. I mean, that's the common sense thing. And then a guy like Jatir Carter could have came in for Michael Schofield, because I'm sure that conversation was being had there like during the game. Michael Schofield was sucking the entire game.
Yeah.
And so, maybe they were like, well, do we put Tevin in or, try to get Schofield? Well, Tevin's still hurt. So that changes the dynamic. Well, if Jatir Carter can play and is healthy, then put him in case.
And with Casey, like that's what kind of where I'm at with Casey. And I was about to bring up is like you don't need to push Tevin to play, because he's shown, just like Justin, like when Tevin was on his A game this season, like he was by and far the Bears' best offensive lineman. And he's someone too where if they feel like it's the best to shut him down for the rest of the year, I'm at that point where I don't care. I let him sit, let him heal up.
How does the coaching staff feel about Tevin? We still don't know this answer. He's playing very well as an offensive lineman, but everything that's transpired from the preseason to the switching, not obvious, they move him from tackle to guard. Then he misses the beginning of training camp. There's reports that there's a disconnect. Then there's reports from the national guys saying that they were searching to trade for him. He clearly, you're in the locker rooms. He clearly wasn't happy about whatever was happening. We don't know the full picture of it all. And it just, as it goes, it just creates more questions is my point. So I still don't think we know 100% that the that Tevin's all in with the coaching staff or the coaching staff is all in for Tevin. I just don't know that.
Yeah, but we don't know how they're really feeling about most of the guys. It's just how it is. We don't know how they feel about Leatherwood or Nikhil Harry. They made it obvious about Velus Jones for a bit, but it's just like something we're not always privileged to. And I've moved on from what happened earlier, and I'm trusting what I saw on tape, what I saw during these games from Tevin, which is top-notch play at
He's our
a
best
brand new
offensive
position.
lineman, talent-wise. There's no question about that.
And the only thing I want to just throw on that, because you said you don't know like the severity of the injury, and I don't think any of us do, but it was a hip injury, which is connected to your back. And he's had that long-standing back issue. And if it's something that can kind of correlate, or like, and if you're overcompensating for a weakened hip with using extra muscles and things in your back, and you're a player that's been prone to having back issues in the past, then I feel like you just don't risk it whatsoever.
That's fair. And that's why I'm prefacing saying I may be overstepping as an emotional fan here, but at the same time, then don't let him be active. I just don't understand the logic of then he could have came in an emergency situation. It just doesn't make too much sense to me. But like, so I don't know if I should give him credit for saying I'll at least be a backup, or if to me that's a knock and like, hey, you were good enough to be a backup. You could have played. These other guys are not healthy and they're playing. It's just such a tough balance. I want to be fair to the conversation. I'm not trying to call Tevin a dog here, but at the same time, like I said, when I watch the beatings that Justin Fields is taking and other guys that are playing injured and are vocal about it, they're not apples to oranges comparisons. Everybody's injury is different. It's just some thoughts going through my meatball brain that you have.
I understand it. But I get it. And yeah, my ears are bleeding a little bit from it. But I mean, there's so many times though when you watch the games and like Tevin, lays someone out or gets hit a little awkwardly and he's laying down, but then he gets right back up and he goes back into the huddle. I think he's a tough SOB. And I feel like for him to just be honest and be like, listen, like I think it's more on the coaching staff than it's more on Tevin, like, and how it was handled, because he let them know honestly where he was at, and they could have made a decision one way or the other. But obviously they must have thought Tevin Jenkins at whatever percent he was. And again, we don't know if it was 60, 70, 80%. Was a better option than Jatir Carter at 100. And I don't know if
so. The way really Michael Schofield was not wasn't deemed an emergency.
I guess not,
because the only emergency would have been if Michael Schofield got injured. But the real emergency of the way he was playing was that Justin Fields is taking a beating, because it's not just the QB design runs where he takes the hit at the end. The sacks are where he gets hit as well. And I don't know how many sacks they took, but it felt like more than what we're used to here week to week. And so, to me, it was an emergency. Like, we need a better offensive lineman out there, because Michael Schofield and Sam Mustipher ain't cutting it.
They're not it whatsoever. So, yeah, I feel like with the Jenkins issue specifically, it's you put the blame on the coaching staff and, whoever made that final call. Like Tevin saying, like, I don't think I'm healthy enough to start. Thank you for being honest. Probably should have been inactive and allowed someone else, like we talked about at the top of this conversation. I just don't want to make sure. I want to make sure it's clearly. I personally don't think it's a knock on Tevin, to be honest, where he's at with the health, especially if, like I said, a hip injury connecting to a back, and I don't want him to tweak that back to a point where it becomes an issue again whatsoever. Fair. So that's where I'm at with that one.
If the coaching staff is good with him, there isn't this disconnect that I feel is still a consideration as far as topic. If that isn't there, then he's a huge asset for this team going forward. Him and Braxton Jones are really the only two guys I'd even consider and Cody Whitehair too. I'm not really sure contract wise how that'll work out with him, but those are the guys that I'd be willing to roll over into next year. But that offensive line needs a huge upgrade, specifically at center, and probably and obviously another tackle, because Riley Reef isn't your future. So, I want Tevin to work out here. I'm just asking questions that a lot of fans are asking at this point.
For sure. And I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, but I still feel like Braxton's going to have to show a lot of growth throughout this next offseason to make me feel a little bit more comfortable in him. Like, he's had his moments this year, but he's also struggled. But he's a 5th-round rookie, and I'm giving him patience here. And I'm hoping that this trial by fire will really allow him to be a strong left tackle for the Bears next season. All right, so one last topic I want to get to here, Greg, before we sign off is just, and it's the premise of like the headline of the show is like, is there really any hope with Trevor Siemian, most likely taking the reins of this Bears offense? And that's I think an easy answer because you have no Khalil Herbert, no Justin Fields. The Bears' main identity this season is a top tier rushing attack, and you can't run David Montgomery to death. Treston Ebner didn't really show too much there. So, and you're going to have to throw the ball. And what I expect the Bears offense to look like in terms of like schematics is probably you're going to revert to the offense that was before the mini bye. And that's what the offense, coming into the season was kind of built for, that more pocket passing. They weren't really allowing Justin to kind of tap into his strengths. They talked about in the offseason why they signed Trevor was his familiarity in similar systems, similar schemes. And obviously it's not the one that we've seen since the mini bye. So we're going to go back to, quick drops, quick passes, get the ball out. And what I saw out of Trevor just throughout his career is a quarterback that can be, I'm going to use the word effective in the quick passing game. He can keep the offense on schedule. He can make a quick decision at the back of his drop. He's going to throw the ball to the receivers, whether they're wide open or not. He's going to give guys chances. The one glaring issue that really concerns me in terms of like why I'm having a hard time feeling like there's a lot of hope goes right back to what we just talked about, that offensive line and their inability to protect the quarterback, because Simeon's not nearly as mobile as Fields in or outside of the pocket. He's going to be a sitting duck back there. And I know like that's why they're going to tap into the quick passing game. But if you want to do anything intermediate or deep down the field, I just don't know if he's going to have any time to do so. He doesn't have nearly as lifeless an arm as Justin. Under pressure, he kind of gets those mechanics kind of fall apart, back foot kind of guy. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of fans are going to feel hopeless, and it seemed like you're kind of like right there with them.
Well, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it is true. I mean, there's a huge drop off in talent. I liked what Trevor Siemian showed us in preseason. I thought they moved the ball efficiently. I mean, he's going against the 2s and the 3s, so you have to take that into consideration. This is going to be all in a ball game, but at the same time, now he's playing with the 1s, which he wasn't doing in the preseason. So he, does have an elevation of talent, even though there is still a lot of holes in with our starters. Imagine what the holes look like at the 2s and 3s that he was looking good with in the preseason. So the thing that leads me to believe it will still be tough is what we saw against Atlanta. And that was, they only were sending 4. They really didn't blitz all that much, if at all. I have to go back and watch it. I haven't had a chance laying bricks all day. But it felt like they were only sending 4, dropping back into zone coverage, playing 10 yards off their receiver, daring the Bears to run the ball, daring the Bears to dink and dunk their way down the field. And the reason for that, you mentioned Treston Ebner, but also David Montgomery. Like, they're good backs, but they are missing a lot with Khalil Herbert, who averages 6 yards a carry and has the ability to break some. And while David Montgomery is a great running back, I am not a very, very, very good running back who can get you those tough yards. He's gonna make good blocks. He had a nice block on Sunday in the Atlanta game. Not trying to disparage David Montgomery, but it's 3 to 5 yards a carry in a cloud of dust. There's very few times that he's gonna find the backside and kind of reroute, where he's going and find that crease and boom, he's gone. That's what Khalil Herbert brings to this offense, and they don't have that right now. At one point, both times, there was different times where Montgomery or Treston Ebner could have cut back to the backside, and they just can't get there. They're the type of guys that are going to cut back in towards the contact, which is admirable, but you just don't have that explosiveness. So, defenses are going to sit there, and I think you're going to continue to see this, whether it's Justin or Trevor. Hey, we're going to let you get those 3 yards a carry and prove that you can have to eventually beat us in the passing game. Then the problem is when they're only rushing 4, well, now you got secondary all over the place in zone coverage. So you can't just throw over the top of them. You have to stay patient and constantly hit the check down. And if he doesn't have enough time, half the time they can't even hold up on those 4-man rushes. I just feel like they're missing a lot with Khalil Herbert not there, forcing defenses to bring a guy or two into the box. And so, I think that they're going to continue to struggle until Khalil Herbert returns.
Totally agreed. Again, losing Herbert and Fields is just detrimental to this offense because by and large they were
the
most
explosiveness.
Exactly. They gave this Bears offense life. But with Trevor at quarterback, you talked about it, like defenses will play off a bit, force you to beat him underneath. And he's made his entire career and living doing just that. Last year with the Saints, he had 4 starts. He hit about 58% of his passes, 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, which, hey, for a guy that threw 10 interceptions and 14 interceptions back in 2016 and 17 over in Denver, for him to cut that down to 11-3 ratio gives me slight hope that he can be a game manager type. If the Bears can find a way to still run the ball with Montgomery and you have a game manager type, it's not going to be enough to win you a lot of these games, I don't think. But I don't think you're going to see an offense that's going consistently 3 and out. I think it can keep it on schedule, do these quick passes, get Claypool involved, Mooney involved, and Komet as well, and just keep everyone, like the target share should be split up. And the Bears offense will still, like I said, move the ball. I don't think they score nearly as many points. But at the end of the day, again, I don't expect it to be like Jimmy Clausen under center. Like, I don't think it'd be like that. It's more like Chase Daniels / I don't want to say Josh McCown because Josh McCown is special and that's a totally different thing. But but in terms of like playing in the rhythm, like when I've seen someone come in and like, wow, this offense, like, why is there a backup? And we have like a flow, and it's because he hits the back of his drop, the ball's out, bing, boom, 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 boom. And I think that's what he's going to at least attempt to do if the pressure does not get into his pocket immediately with this Bears piss poor offensive line. But I don't expect him, like I said, to be an offense.
The Jets lose to Trevor Siemian-led Bears. I feel bad for Zach Wilson trying to live comfortably in New York because he's already going to have a tough go about it this week. If Justin was playing, I definitely feel like we're catching the Jets at the right time because they're in crisis mode right now, having more punts than first downs, and Zach Wilson saying that he didn't feel like he owed anything to the defense, or I forget the exact quote, but it wasn't a good one. I think
actually Steven has that too, that post-game quote, right, Steven? Yeah, look at this.
This is our super producer, Steve. Steven's killing the game tonight. Yeah.
I feel like you let the defense down at all? No. As an offense, though, I mean, when you guys are only able to score 3 points, the defense only lets up 3 points. I mean, do you feel like you let the defense down at all?
No.
You don't say that. Like you don't say that as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. You have to take responsibility.
Accountability, yep.
Exactly. Responsibility, accountability. You can't just throw your entire defense under the bus despite not even playing well. So Hector asked a question in the chat that I really don't want to give the answer to. But we're going to have to, because he asked, who is the backup for Trevor Siemian? And that's going to be Nathan Peterman.
That's
going to be Nathan Peterman. So that, you talk about an emergency situation there, Greg. That's the only way. I would have David Montgomery play quarterback before I saw
Wildcat.
I would just go straight Wildcat with Montgomery before I saw Nathan Peterman out there. But yeah, that sucks to say the least. But yeah, like what I feel like again, like how the offense is going to look different. It's going to be, you're going to go back to Montgomery, I think, being the bell cow, the workhorse. Ebner should not have seen as many snaps and as touches as he did last week. And then you're going to see Siemian try to be a game manager, get the ball out quick, and allow these playmakers, Claypool, Komet, Mooney, EQ, whoever else is going to get involved, maybe Valus, who knows, try to make some plays after the catch. That's what I see coming up this week and beyond.
We've been driving in a Honda our whole lives as Bears fans. We finally got to sit in the Ferrari for a month and a half, and it felt good. The wind was to our face.
Yes, it was.
And now we're back driving the Honda in the blink of an eye. The Bears offense, the type of Bears offense that we've seen for decades here
Yep.
is what we will be seeing this Sunday. Man, get well soon, Justin. Get well soon.
Hey, you're welcome, Hector. I appreciate the question as much as I hated the answer, but it's good information to know because the Bears have carried 2 active quarterbacks throughout this season, with Peterman kind of sitting on the practice squad, and you forget that he was there. And unless you look at the roster like me
and
today,
something I saw
and
Hector and a few other people bring up when we were having our conversation about Herbert and missing him, and with Montgomery, I am very high on Khalil Herbert. I'm a big Khalil Herbert fan. I have been since I saw him at training camp last year when he first started with the Bears. And I have a lot of respect for David Montgomery, and it always turns into pinning one against the other if you have like one that you like more, so to speak. I like both of those guys, and I understand what David Montgomery is. Hector puts, Montgomery is the offensive identity. I mean, Justin Fields is the identity of this offense. I have a lot of respect for David Montgomery. He may have been last year, and he's certainly a leader on this team. I think you could have easily put the C on his chest as a captain for this team because of the work the work ethic he shows, the leadership he shows. I'm not trying to disparage David Montgomery, but then every time we get into these conversations, Will, and I'd like to find this out on a deeper dive down the road, is everyone, when we go to this conversation, is, well, Khalil Herbert can't block. David Montgomery's a great blocker, and that's what makes him so much better than Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert is outdoing him in rushing numbers, rushing yards per carry, and they're very close in attempted carries. It's probably changed now that Herbert couldn't play here last week. But when they were neck and neck as far as carry attempts, the Khalil Herbert had him by yards per carry. But then the X factor that everybody always goes to that wants to defend Montgomery in this conversation is, well, Khalil Herbert can't block. And we all saw Khalil Herbert miss the block on the blocked punt on special teams. And I'm sure there's instances where he hasn't picked up a blitz on offense. But I personally feel like this whole narrative that Khalil Herbert can't block is overblown, like as if he either A, can't do it, or B, will never figure it out. So maybe I'll task you, because I'm just the fan in the stands. I'm not the guy to go to tell you whether or not how much weight that take carries, but I want to know. So I want somebody on our CHGO Bears team to tell me if this narrative that Khalil Herbert can't block is true or if it's overblown. Maybe it's not something we'll solve tonight, but I want to know that answer from our guys because I hear it all the time.
Well, I can give you at least some numbers here.
You're the numbers guy. I knew you'd have it ready.
That's me. So Herbert and Montgomery have played. David Montgomery's actually been on the field for more than double of the pass blocking snaps and has given up the same amount of pressures as Herbert. So they each given up 3 pressures, but Montgomery's done it on 223 pass snaps versus 107 for Herbert. So it's a little bit of a difference there.
Well,
however,
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say However, if you like grades, which I don't, that's why I use the actual stats and not the actual PFF grades, they're identical. 48.4 out of 100 for Herbert, 48.2 for David Montgomery in terms of pass blocking.
So that's what I mean. It's like, yeah. So if he had double the amount, Montgomery does, then Herbert's going to have twice as many sacks given up or whatever, pressures given up. I feel like that's something he can get better at. And B, I don't know how much that outweighs. Yeah, it shows the coaching staff is showing it. They're putting him out there for more pass attempts, David Montgomery, that being. So that's a trust factor. But, a big part of being a running back is running the football. It's not blocking back. It's running back. I understand blocking is a huge aspect and an underappreciated aspect of the position. But Khalil Herbert is a dynamic running back who averages 6 yards a carry.
Yep.
Now, I'm not trying to pin the two against each other. I think as a tandem, they're great. But there are things Khalil Herbert can do that, quite frankly, David Montgomery just can't do. Like find that backside hole and turn it into 40 yards. So I'm not trying to disparage David Montgomery. There's a lot of things he does well that Khalil Herbert can't do as well. Goal line carries and whatever. But to me, we're missing a lot with Khalil Herbert. Sorry for getting fired up.
No, you're good. I am here for the Juice Herbert love. I've been, like you, very high on him since his arrival, and that's the good problem to have is 2 running backs. How do you get them on the field because they're both very good, and how do you maximize each of their skill sets? So it's not a bad thing. We'll see.
It's a great balance. I just don't know if. Then the other bigger question is, will he even be here next year, David Montgomery?
Exactly. I was going to say, after a few weeks, it may be a conversation of, well, we don't have to worry about it. Now Herbert's the guy. And then you have to find someone else behind him that can take on a secondary role. It'll be interesting to say the least. But Greg, I think that really does it for our time here tonight. One thing I did want to mention about Trevor Siemian is that if he can get Kevin White 1 target, 1 catch, and 38 yards last year in New Orleans, if you can get Kevin White a 38-yard catch, or Kevin White a 38-yard reception, then he can make some magic happen. Wink. For those listening at home.
Yes, anything is possible. The Trevor Siemian game is and it better be the Trevor Siemian game, because I swear to God, if they put Justin Fields out there, I am going to lose it on the timeline on our very healthy website, Twitter, that's still up and running somehow. So, if they play Justin Fields, I'm going to have a lot of vomit of opinions going across the timeline. So I don't want to see him out there this week. I have no interest in seeing Justin Fields out there this week. Appreciate how hard he plays, toughness he shows. Take a week off there, bud. You've earned it.
I'm confident that we're not going to have to get you to that dark place on Sunday. We'll see how it all kind of shakes out, but I'm going to call that an episode. Thanks for tuning in. Well, to this CHGO Bears After Dark. Just brought up that word twice pretty quickly. But Greg, thanks for all the insight you brought throughout the episode. Cody, Adam for hopping on. Steven for doing some amazing production work behind the scenes. Appreciate everyone who puts in their time to make this show possible. And of course, everyone here who watched live, watched a replay, or listened to the podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. Definitely head over to allchgo.com. Become a diehard today. A lot of great membership perks, including 20% off our merch at all times, exclusive diehard merch, get our premium content directly in your inbox, and so much more. Go to allchgo.com/diehard to check out all the reasons why you should become a diehard and join the family.
And if you do, tomorrow there's a big thing with Corey Wooten and Adam Hoge, right?
There is, yeah. We'll be doing a diehard only event, online virtual event, kind of a little hangout with Corey and Adam Hoge, and we'll have more details for our diehards coming out tomorrow, so that way they know. And I don't want to give away all the details here because I don't. So
I jumped the gun for our.
It's okay.
I jumped the gun, but you know what? We'll keep it between us girls. That's why we gave you the teaser away for you loyal listeners that stayed in late with us here tonight.
That's right. I like getting some nuggets here at the 93-minute mark. I think that's okay to do, to be most honest. But all right. I hope everyone has a good rest of your night. I will see you all. I think I'm actually on Wednesday's show before Thanksgiving, and then Nick and I's preview with the holiday is moved to Friday. So that way you kind of can prepare your weeks around our content, which I know that's how everyone plans their lives.
Yes.
Wink.
Mark Carmen was in the chat. If he still is, I hope you heard me when I said hope your turkey is dry. I mean that. Don't talk.
I don't think he caught that, but he definitely caught the Honda talk, and now he's going to have to go back and figure out why
I don't want
to have a dry turkey.
I'm not speaking to him the rest of the week. On Sunday, I won't even acknowledge him. I'm going to turn my head to him. He's getting the Amish shun.
There you go. We appreciate you, Jaden. There we go. We appreciate you too, Jaden. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Like I said, I'll see you later on this week, but until then, bear down, Chicago.